guys, welcome back to the show. It is Unnamed Sunday Crypto. I am your host, Seth Estrada, and with me is the illustrious, long-bearded, and ever-wise Aaron Estrada. How you doing, Aaron?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Long time no chat. It's been like a week since we video chatted. So, man, we have a ton of stuff to talk about. You brought up these guys to me the other day, and I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I think yet. So
their video is so flashy that it's almost like suspicious.
Should we roll it?
Yeah, let's run it. It's fun, but
actually, you know what I'm gonna do? The irony here is that I can open it up. I can open it up in YouTube.
Hey, what's up? I'm Slate, and I'm the new digital currency for the entertainment industry. And with me, you can use some amazing platforms, ticketing, streaming, all in a decentralized multi-layer ecosystem. Hold on. Let's go again. Hey, what's up? I'm Slate, and I like having fun. I'm really into movies, going to the theaters, or just staying in and streaming content exclusive to me anywhere in the world. Not to brag. Excuse me. Disruptive. That's my middle name. The key is my blockchain technology, which adds transparency to an industry that really needs it. See, I don't just piggyback off this guy.
I'm sick.
You'll be all right in a week. See, blockchain is great for things like ticketing because it helps prevent piracy. Speaking of which, thank you. Those guys are the worst.
It's a not so subtle nod to
because of my technology, I get where I need to go fast. Maybe a little faster. That works. Come on, son. Go. If I'm not at a movie, I'm probably at an amusement park, comedy show.
So, like, not to be disparaging, but I kind of feel like the point needed to already be gotten to by now. But let's let them go on.
Concert. Great show last night. This is just the start. A lot of really positive changes are coming to the industry, and I don't care if this guy doesn't like it. Wait. I think we can do better than that. I don't care if this guy doesn't like it. What did I tell you? Oh. I didn't even tell you about the rewards you can earn reviewing movies or hosting masternodes to support our peer-to-peer video content delivery and storage protocol.
And the winner is Slate.
You really want a bunch of thank yous? To sum things up, I'm all about access, having fun, and actually being useful.
So what?
So what? So let's dance.
All right, cool. So 2.2 million views. But
well, most of them were paid for. I'm sure that. I mean, I discovered it because it got pushed to me as an ad on YouTube. So.
Right, the like and dislike buttons have been disabled, or the counts have been obscured. That's kind of a no-no on YouTube if you want to engender trust. But so that's not very transparent. There are 116 comments. That was a pretty fun ad. I agree. It was a fun ad. And the same way that a lot of these unique like mattress commercials are fun. And
I've watched this 10 times and I still have no idea what Slate even is.
I think I already liked that comment. Yeah, I'm kind of with him there. It's fun, but you can't really out Dollar Shave Club anymore. And there are a lot of advertisers that are trying to, and it's fine. But when you apply it to a sort of like heady crypto concept that is also supposed to be a token sale, the obfuscation doesn't land well, you know? So
maybe that's why I was confused. I mean, I know what masternodes are, and I know what content distribution systems are. So that part, I'm like, oh, finally some nuggets of actually like what it is. But if you are not an insider, you wouldn't. That stuff would just go straight over your head.
Well, not only that, but they force you to watch 2 full minutes of what is essentially gibberish until they mention that. So
Clowning around.
Yeah, like it's not bad. I mean, they hired a really great actor, up and coming rising star, right? The guy has some brand recognition, and there were several other interesting, like kind of funny, silly references to maybe Charlie Lee, but also maybe visual effects in general. I couldn't really tell who they were making fun of with the guy in the pearlescent white morph suit that had the Litecoin logo on it. But so
yeah, I didn't even, that one went right over my head. I completely missed that one. I got the Bitcoin thing, and they made him a little person.
Yeah. Right.
What is that supposed to say?
Right. I'm not really sure where they're going with all of this. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to think about any of it, really, other than that, like, hey, we have access to cool Hollywood stuff. That's valid. I mean, hey, if that's how you roll, then sure, you can go rent a Lamborghini for a day and bring it onto the sound stage and drive it away. And this actor apparently was comfortable enough holding on to the bumper for a minute. But it's kind of like, what does that actually mean in terms of crypto? Lambos are funny. They're funny. Yeah, Lambo, haha, crypto, yeah, Lambo. But yeah, then it was like, okay, what does it actually do? Well, first thing, token sale, got a couple of phases here. Token sale is live. Time until next price increase, 20 hours, 5 minutes, 42 seconds. Currently at 3 cents per Slate token, going to go up to 3.25 cents. So I don't know what the timeline is like there. Blockchain video on demand is an interesting acronym. Don't really know what it's supposed to mean, other than that it's already trademarked, which is very decidedly like anti-distributed ledger, very anti-crypto. To sort of
good point.
Yeah. So
it's decentralized, but we own it. We own it all.
It's so Hollywood, right? And then tokenized ticketing. Yeah, Mr. Burns. Precious trademarked secrets. But then tokenized ticketing, not really sure what that means. Industry-leading open analytics. Now, I think if they did nothing other than create an analytics platform for Hollywood and for mainstream like tentpole entertainment, that would be valuable in and of itself. I feel like the other stuff is, I don't really know what it means. I'll put it that way. And then unrestricted global access. Newsflash, BitTorrent kind of solved that problem years ago. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I did a pitch years ago at a large studio whose name I'll just omit for the purposes of whatever. But I actually pitched them on creating a decentralized CDN using BitTorrent, and this was when did I still live in California, man? That was like over 10 years ago.
Jeez.
Anyway, it was a major Hollywood studio that had already struggled a little bit with their internet strategy. And they completely didn't get it at the time, and they probably still wouldn't. I don't know,
well, well, the entire process is kind of and culture is such that when you live in it and you actually are productive in that environment, you almost can't be made to understand some of this other stuff. I think because it's just so foreign a concept.
Well, for them, the person I spoke to was a head of global distribution. Essentially, his job was the exploitation of the catalog across the entire global sort of distribution pipelines. And the issue at the time was that they just couldn't figure out how to put something like that into it's a tiered sort of process, right? It goes, at the time, it would go to cable first, or it would go to video discs first, then it would go to cable, and streaming was like completely new. There was like no legit streaming service. It didn't change the fact that BitTorrent was already eating their lunch, but like
right.
That's shortly after that is when all of the sort of official real streaming services started to come online. And they couldn't figure out how to fit it into their model of how to monetize the things under those things. And so my pitch was sort of like, well, if you and it's funny because I could completely pitch this now because there's no risk of this model being stolen. Well, somebody could try to monetize this or use this idea, but the model has moved to something so completely different now with this sort of more centralized streaming sort of thing. It's basically it's become a new form of cable, right? Basically, the OTTs is sort of a gatekeepers essentially controlling the supply of the stuff and creating the more of the iTunes model, the more convenient model, and then you're willing to pay your $5 or $10 a month or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not worried about spilling the beans on what I pitched over 10 years ago, but the idea was to embed the advertising directly into the stream itself, essentially encrypt the stuff so that only the official player could play it. You could still scrape it or rip it, but that would still create a little bit of a barrier to entry of essentially redistributing it illegally, right?
Yeah.
And the logic behind this was, even though there was mild DRM, I mean, you could still screen scrape it off and sort of, if you were sophisticated, tear out the videos and then redistribute it. But what would be the motivation? It would be more work than it was worth because you could just easily get it through the official channel and the official player.
Right. Yeah. I think the CW does that right now, and theirs is not even particularly sophisticated. Like you can actually, there are a couple of ways to game their ad network just by using a basic ad blocker. But they've moved past that at this point, just thinking like, we just want people to see our shows, we want people to like our shows, and then we're selling our catalog post season. We're selling it to Netflix anyway. But yeah, that's creative, man. It's very very inventive to be able to embed the advertising.
Just directly. And now the problem is you couldn't use a dynamic ad system for inserting dynamic ads, which it would break that capability. They'd be sort of baked in. But if you look at the older style of a sort of monetizing shows with advertising where it was like, this brought to you by whatever soap, right? Or cigarettes, right? Like the Lucky Strike. Yeah. It's toasted or whatever like that. Like,
right.
9 out of 10 doctors recommend Lucky Strike. Anyway, but like that era when it was like this stuff was embedded in the TV show, literally like it's kind of almost part of the programming, like when a lot of the shows were still done live.
Yeah.
So it would sort of be going a throwback to that where the entire show was like a pre-negotiated deal to where they would essentially fund the entire show, which is a different model from today anyway when it comes to the advertising. But
right.
The whole idea is you'd be using BitTorrent for distribution of your CDN, so it would barely need any CDN at all. And so it would mostly just be a software play where it'd be in the player and that basic mild DRM mechanism for the official player. And then people could cache them locally. And again, this was in the era when broadband was still not really ubiquitous yet. So distribution might be an issue. So you'd have all day 24/7 to cache content. And then when people get home at the end of the day, when they want to watch TV or whatever, the content's already there. That was the pitch.
Yeah, it's like the inverse of TiVo, right? You're not recording stuff real time. You're caching stuff so that you can watch your favorite programs.
It was essentially meant to be like an evolutionary step beyond the TiVo. Yeah, it was very much, I wouldn't say inspired by TiVo, but it was like taking into account the realities of the state of the art and like what was possible with the technology of the time. So so that concept's kind of probably stale now, except for people. There's probably still huge amounts of people who use torrent to pirate stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But, I don't think that it's entirely. I don't think that's entirely stale. I imagine that you could probably build on that and then just apply a couple of newer trends like service node or master nodes, right? To have there be different points, right? And then have those be like broadcast points so people can stream, and then some kind of rewards, right, for becoming a service node that then streams the last mile to anybody that doesn't want to have 2 gigs of hard drive space taken up, because we're also used to streaming now. I don't know.
Yeah. Or it could just basically be like a seed node. I mean, there's things like WebTorrent right now that can essentially stream torrents. They just prioritize the blocks that are earlier in the data blob. I don't know what else to call it, but like the giant blob of data you're trying to download.
Yeah.
They just prioritize the earlier block. And you know how torrent sort of chunks it up into blocks. Yeah. It sort of just prioritizes grabbing the early blocks. And if you're thinking about a massively distributed CDN, streaming becomes a slightly different exercise when you have a whole ton of seeds to go grab from, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've used torrent, like BitTorrent recently, but it always blows me away how fast it is, like compared to traditional district like CDNs. I mean, it's very difficult to compete with the speed that it can produce.
You know what's funny is I think the last time that I used BitTorrent was to download a recent update to Ubuntu, because I mean, every Linux distro still uses BitTorrent, and I was like, oh yeah, right. I have to go find a BitTorrent client. You can't use the BitTorrent client because the mainline BitTorrent client I think was bought by a media company, and even a couple of the more popular ones, MuTorrent, even that one went commercial. So I was like, oh crud, I've got to find like an old version of one that I like that isn't completely commercial, because that was entirely not the point before.
Yes. Tons of ads and stuff in it. Well, I mean, there's still open source implementations that are pretty dang good if you're running Linux as your host.
I just haven't used it enough lately to know what those would be. So I was like, all right, well, what's a package that I used before that wasn't ad supported before? So interesting, man. Yeah, for sure.
Go to WebTorrent. Since you're already streaming, it'll just save time. Go to WebTorrent.
Well, I mean, I don't always use BitTorrent, and that's just it. I use BitTorrent for a Linux distro. I didn't use it for media because I'm used to streaming media somewhere else. So kind of weird.
Go to WebTorrent, like, since you're already screen sharing here.
Sure, yeah. So WebTorrent. Let's see what we got. .io.
Yeah, and it's completely FOSS. And then you can see here the demo that they show is streaming video.
Oh, that's nice.
So this didn't exist back when I made my pitch, but to be honest, this right now would be like a cornerstone piece of technology you could use to build just what I pitched today, with in fact sort of better, because you wouldn't have to cache all of the media locally.
Yeah.
You could essentially say, when they click the EULA, they would basically be saying, I agree to hosting a seed, or caching X amount of data. Like, they would devote X amount of disk space to holding the most recent stuff. So the hottest files on your network, like when something dropped the first day, then you would essentially crowdsource the streaming of it to everybody in your network, and that would take some of the load off your own CDN.
Right, and so I love that we've gotten to this point in the conversation. You've already laid out 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 different ways. We've talked about 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to potentially stream media and potentially overcome this problem of distributing the load, right, without necessarily having a central CDN. So it begs the question: what is blockchain video on demand, and what problem does it solve? You know what I mean?
Well, the only thing I can think of is the settlement layer, the monetization, because obviously the actual owner of the content needs to get paid somehow. The crowdsourcing, the distribution, is just one piece of the puzzle. I mean, I think I'm not a huge fan of DRM, but at a certain point, a certain amount of DRM is necessary in order to at least control the media long enough till we can monetize it the first time.
Right. This reminds me of what Kodak was trying to do.
Had my stuff pirated, by the way. It was so demoralizing when I made my training videos, only to discover that my training videos had basically within weeks had been pirated. It's like so frustrating.
Right. No, I remember that, man. It was a great course.
And it's like a niche thing, man. It's not even like it was not even like a mainstream Hollywood movie, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the point of trying to protect stuff is completely futile. Who knows?
I mean, possibly. I don't think it is totally futile, but it reminds me of what Kodak was trying to do with Kodak One, their Kodak coin, and what they want to do. It's entirely entirely ownership.
By the way, for anybody who ripped me off and watched my videos without paying me, shame on you. They're very good value, and you should have paid me. And had you paid me, you would have been invited to all the cool value-added stuff, like being in my forum and actually having me as a mentor. But instead, you chose to just rip me off.
Yeah. And I think we're getting to that point. Well, hopefully we're getting to that point where there's more widespread understanding of what that means. I think that blockchain, in terms of making sure that there is not necessarily just a digital a DRM layer, but having there be a settlement layer for work that can be protected through some kind of payment, or having there be platforms. Dude, this, by the way, this episode is not sponsored by Microsoft. It's just an old shirt that's really comfy. I'm kind of lounging in my PJs. You can't see what I'm wearing down below. So I'm just lounging in something comfortable today. It's the Sunday show after all, so don't take it too seriously. But no relation. Don't worry about that. But to your point, the settlement layer, that does make sense. That does make sense as far as there being some kind of blockchain element. But I don't really know what blockchain video on demand means, other than, like you're saying, maybe a DRM layer and maybe a settlement layer. So I brought up a couple of things when you brought this to my attention. I was like, something just doesn't sit right, and I'm not sure what it is, because you forwarded this to me before I interviewed the CEO and founder of BitTube, and this guy is This guy's really interesting, actually. Saber, his team is out in the Canary Islands, but they're relocating to Berlin because they were like, yeah, nobody takes us seriously when we say we're from the Canary Islands. We wanted to move to Berlin where there was maybe a little bit more going on by way of content deals. Like there is a lot of content that is bought and sold through Berlin, apparently. When I was doing Stereoscopic 3D, my agent was in Berlin. They were one of the few that were still buying and selling 3D content, stereo 3D content. And so when he said they were going to move to Berlin, I was like, I guess that tracks. You'd think that you want to move closer to maybe, I don't know, London or LA, maybe even Vancouver. I don't know. But when you brought this to my attention, I was like, you know what? I think I need to show this right here. So this is bit.tube, and I've already got this customized a little bit. Oh, it's funny. I've got notifications. New subscribers. Yay. And I imported the video that I uploaded and scheduled for today. It's already... Oh, that's weird. I'm actually going to go just to... There we go, to my channel. And I'll go ahead and refresh that. But there's a one-click import from YouTube. So anything that I've already published to YouTube, BitTube will just pull, because there's an API with BitTube, or YouTube rather, that allows you to download some kind of a master copy of the media that you've uploaded. I always upload an HTTP, but
gets the thumbnail too, it looks like.
Yeah, pulled everything, and and at least the first few paragraphs of the description, first few lines of the description, and the title and everything. I don't think it rips any tags or keywords or anything. But clearly there's not a ton of audience here yet, but I like what they're doing with the platform itself. I feel like they are primed for growth. The infrastructure is in place. And
well, I mean, man, this would have made such a big. So I watched. Yeah, it got pulled down. There's this channel of this guy on YouTube that is like, he's like this libertarian guy, and it's like his stuff is kind of a little crazy. It's not like full on conspiracy theory stuff, but it's like on the edge. And somebody must have complained or whatever, because there's nothing like really crazy controversial about the stuff you would say. But he had a lot of subscribers. I mean, he had like 500,000 subscribers and was getting good views. It was like he's a full-time YouTuber. And they just killed his channel, just completely killed it and took it down. Huh.
Yeah, I know there are a couple of characters like that. Jordan Peterson, who does a lot of guest lectures, he will get pushed back occasionally too. He's the sort of character that's like who you're saying, who I could see that happening to, where it's like, this is a person who guest lectures at major universities around the world, but somebody complained. Somebody said that he was infringing on their personal copyright and submitted a copyright claim inappropriately. That happens on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, well, because people figure out that it's like a weapon that they can use, right? It's been weaponized. So now that they realize they can make false claims, and it's the responsibility of the person. Well, basically the burden of proof gets put on the other person, even though in that particular situation, it doesn't make sense to do it that way, but they still get punished. And so I'm not sure who took issue with this guy's stuff, because he does a lot of red pills. I mean, that was the number one thing I liked about his stuff, was it was, like I said, even it was a borderline a little bit conspiracy crazy. This stuff also would be like, yeah, he's kind of got a point. Maybe I should just like be a little more objective about how I look at the whole picture. So yeah, I was a little sad to hear that his channel got taken down. But I mean, it's not that like this BitTube would necessarily fix that. But if you were to, but all the work of just even uploading, it's such a pain in the ass for anybody who's ever tried to do uploading. I mean, you get into a routine of where you don't forget to do different tags and you don't forget to do all these things. But there's a lot of little details you got to take care of every time you're trying to set up something on YouTube. And to have all that just taken down, I mean, even just the act of uploading all those episodes again someplace else, I'm sure he has copies of them on his hard drive or something. So it's not like he's lost all the media, but he probably didn't keep notes on all the metadata that he attached to all his videos when he was posting. He's lost all that stuff forever.
Right.
So, and not to mention all his viewers, because he never owned them. Right. So now his entire subscriber list has been taken away from him.
Right.
Bullshit.
Whereas over here, I've got I don't have any subscriptions there, but I have a subscriber list here that corresponds to a wallet address. So I can record their wallet addresses, like they're part of this blockchain. And further, they can tip me in a currency that is generated from the network. Like, I'm really impressed. I don't want to like repitch what was covered with Sub-Air. Other than that, people said his microphone quality was not so good. So maybe I'll just like do a high level here. But like on BitTube, this is a big deal to have 7 subscribers because there's like nobody here. Like
you've got all seven users are your subscribers,
right? But I'm looking at it and just thinking like I really like what I see. The platform is really usable. I mean, just a small little details like the front end being
polished,
responsive, right?
Yeah.
And so
very polished.
Wallet right there. This can be shown publicly, so it's not a big deal. I can click through to see additional keys and stuff. But right here, I've got a wallet address with a copy button, which is like, well, duh, I would want that fast. Like the UX makes sense. And then right down here, transactions, they're using a crypto note fork to make it mineable. And so my laptop is mining this easy. Like it's mining it very easily, in fact. And so I've been doing a little bit there. I got some donations from some other addresses there because people were like, hey, you're going to review it.
You let the cat out of the bag. Is difficulty like super low on their chain right now?
It is, but they're about to fork the proof of work algo. Like literally when we go live with this video, the proof of work algo will be less than 24 hours away from a fork. So
okay, but why is he switching it? Because you said difficulty's low now. Right.
Difficulty's low now, and so difficulty's low now, and then I guess the hashing algorithm is not so heavy duty that you can't mine on a laptop right now. It's not like it's significant income, but it's profitable is what I'm saying. It's actually profitable on even a CPU alone. And but it is a CryptoNote fork, so it uses the CryptoNite algorithm or one of the variants. I don't remember if it's CryptoNite Heavy or actually it's a modified CryptoNite Lite. And it's impressive, man. The hash rates are really high, at least on lower hardware. I mean, that doesn't necessarily correspond to higher block rewards or whatever else, but it's been interesting to see. Like what you see right there, mined, that's all been from a laptop. So payouts are good and consistent, and I've got a laptop humming away in the corner quietly. And even just with a single GPU or a couple GPUs, you can make some of this coin. What I like about it also is that they make it very easy to send to any of the contacts that I have here, subscribers and stuff, or for my subscribers, conversely, to give me donations as well or give me tips. And part of the way that they have their whole platform lined or laid out is the way that rewards are unlocked is in part through mining, but then I think it's like 80% of all of the rewards are earmarked for creators. So anybody who's actually contributing, it's way better than 50% and way better than the approximately like 30% of ad rev that you would normally get or less on any other platform. But here, this is going to be like so totally meta, because I live streamed this interview to BitTube and then recorded the live stream. Okay, I got the audio turned off there, but right down here, proof of view. They've got some anti-spoofing technology to make sure that you're not just logging in from multiple different computers. I mean, they're doing their best, right? Nothing is foolproof, or nothing is completely, rather, black hat proof. But they call it proof of view, and you'll notice that as the as the time keeps ticking, that proof of view keeps moving upward, and people, for as long as they stay glued to the content and keep things rolling, then they're keeping track of how much of the reward should be going to different creators. You know what, though? I don't know. I don't think that there's any increased reward for watching faster. Bummer. Increased or decreased? Yeah, it should be. It shouldn't go faster. No, it isn't. It's time on task. Because you could. Well, you should get the same amount of credits for the minutes of video viewed. So meaning if you go to another one and watch it faster, I mean, how fast did it go? Did it go like 4x there? No, it can go up to 8. Oh, geez. Well, I mean, I guess if you didn't have to listen to people talking, if you're just watching something, you could see the whole thing at that speed. But yeah, overhead, like craft style videos or baking or whatever. Yeah, so it's a very interesting platform. I don't know that it's perfect. I don't know that it's going to necessarily be as I hate using the word disruptive, but I don't know if it's going to be as disruptive as as maybe they think. So right there, my description is truncated because I imported this one from YouTube as well. But anything that would normally be broadcast above the fold in the description on YouTube is imported. So if I'm careful about what I want to have, placed above the fold, it's going to show up here automatically anyway.
It's still less work because I mean, if you did want to go touch up all your metadata, all you'd have to go do is copy and paste it, before your YouTube channel gets banned.
Right. Yeah. I'm counting down.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. If maybe it's just all of the people I watch are in the universe of people who get banned on YouTube. But like a lot of people that I watch on YouTube are like concerned about strikes and getting banned and stuff. It's like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's just it. If you're anywhere on the fringe, and it doesn't matter if it's political, it doesn't matter if it has to do with being a financial threat, a la crypto. Doesn't matter if it has to do with any other kind of like social pet causes that maybe get people a little bit too riled up. But yeah, it seems like if you're anywhere outside of the edge there, then you're just a little bit too close to being an anarchist for their comfort.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, wait a second, I'm working within a framework right now just to talk about ideas. And there are a lot of very level-headed people, who fall into that category. Granted, there are also people who are like, yeah, sweet, I got another tank. And no value judgment. If somebody has a collection of tanks, I think that's awesome. But at the same time, on YouTube, there's always somebody who's ready to complain about that. Like, this person is subversive and they're dangerous and they're teaching dangerous ideas. Somebody call the ATF.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't own a tank unless the ATF already knew about them. So,
right? True story. Same with all the full auto stuff you see. It's like, no, these guys are on the radar of every relevant organization. They don't need you complaining to. But
yeah.
But yeah, so this is BitTube, and where I'm going with this after I saw Slate and seeing blockchain video on demand, I spoke to their CEO. They've done a couple of things that are interesting. First off, they siloed any of the adult content onto a subdomain and just XXX subdomain. And it was like, oh, that was easy. That kind of makes sense. Now just identify it and say,
yeah, well, you just nip the problem in the bud. Say, okay, we have a channel for the porn and we have a channel for the non-porn.
Exactly. Yeah, and you got like DTube or DLive that also use some similar technologies to these. All three apparently are using IPFS as a decentralized CDN already. So again, talking about problems that were already solved, BitTorrent did it fast, and IPFS does it decentralized. Mm-hmm. So there are kind of some problems that are already solved there. What these guys are working on next is they are doing pay-per-view, and apparently it's not just on the roadmap, it's also imminent. Like, this is happening. But pay-per-view, so I asked him about DRM a little bit, about rights management, and he was like, oh yeah, we're working on rights management, but we're also working on content analysis. So like maybe somebody, because it's still the crypto space, right, where it's like, oh, it's blockchain based video, so I should be able to do whatever I want and not have my speech censored. It's like, yeah, but they still asked you politely to put adult content over in the adult sandbox. So maybe please just help everybody and just do that. There's still going to be somebody that's like, well, you can have community guidelines. You know, back. I don't know if you remember the era when the whole porn thing was being a little bit more tested. It was a sort of the home video era. Before that, all of the sort of blue content was really marginalized and was, I wouldn't say de facto. In a lot of places, it was de facto illegal, but it still sort of managed to stay on the fringe. When VHS and video and all that stuff started to go mainstream, it started to become a little bit more visible. And that's when a lot of groups started pushing back on it. But that's when the new equilibrium was sort of where its place as its legal status started to really get tested, which probably didn't result in the outcome that the people that were pushing back were hoping for. Because as you know, it's like ubiquitous now, and so it's all over. But right. Where am I going with all this? Part of the equilibrium is that there was a community standard. So when it came to things like local stores for selling, doing porn rentals and stuff like that, they kind of came to the conclusion that if the local community wasn't okay with it, then it would have to like essentially censor itself to some extent, or be a little bit more hidden.
right? Whereas if the local community was okay with it, well, then it would be okay. So it became essentially regulated at a very local level, because the people who are pushing to have it illegalized at a higher level couldn't come up with a good legal theory to do that.
Right. There were still like zoning laws and such that would affect whether or not, I mean, it would fall into the same categories as adult novelty shops or whatever.
Right. Right. And so I think it's reasonable for there to be a community standard. That's where I'm kind of trying to set this all up for a video like platform. It's like you essentially create a community standard that's a consensus. It's like say, okay, and that's why I think it was kind of smart of them to actually create, okay, this is the porn space and this is the non-porn space, because it solves the problem right off the bat. We can have two different community standards. Everybody pretty much, there's a consensus. We all agree this is the non-porn space and this is the porn space. Easy, done.
Right. Whereas I know with DTube, for example, I set some other, there we go, got some other stuff open there, but DTube, I tried uploading here a couple of times. I mentioned this pain point to the CEO because I found uploading was a little bit onerous. I need to move your video down out of the way there. But they've got an NSFW toggle. And by default, it always says fully hidden. And they ask you to tag everything. But it's still like, okay, it's in the exact same space, exact same search bar, history, logins, everything else. And it's just one toggle, at least for a parent or whomever, or for anybody that's just like, for whatever reason, right? They're just like, I just don't want that, right? Like I choose not to consume that. It's kind of like, you could do a little bit to silo it from like, say, having something that's overtly adult or pornographic, literally right next door
next to the Teletubbies.
Yeah, right. Like, the Spider-Man plus Elsa are in getting married videos. Yeah, right. Like, because that's a thing on YouTube. You know about this, right? Have we talked about this? We talked about Spider-Man and Elsa, how the internet thinks they're married. Oh my gosh.
No,
this is so messed up. So, Spider-Man loves Elsa, from Frozen. Yeah, like from the Frozen universe. Apparently, this is a thing. Spider-Man loves Frozen from Elsa in life. This day is kind of come and gone because it started in 2016, but it's clearly still here. Is Spider-Man in love Cinderella? This happened in February of this year. But this stuff, yeah.
Is somebody just creating a Spider-Man meme around all these princesses?
There you go. Spider-Man kisses Elsa in the toilet. You seeing a trend here? It's all taboo. But it's all like they're mild taboos that kind of are being used as like so many Lego blocks to build this horrific reality of cosplay. But right here, you find like the top results right there.
Does this meme have like traction or like? Dude, I've never heard of this one.
Dude, so much traction. But right there, this one only has 4,000 views. Spider-Man loves Elsa. I'll search here within. Okay, yikes. Yeah, so there's always something edgy, right?
Yeah.
You see the animated thumbnails there. 175,000 views, 58,000 views. These guys, yeah. Elsa in real life, upside down, recreating moments from the Spider-Man movies. And then there's a lot of this stuff where there's like, again, just slight, like subtle social taboos of like, oh, see, look, he's grabbing the side of her, her bikini. It's not like totally naughty, but it's edgy enough that it's like, wait, I actually kind of don't want my kids watching this. But the number one audience for this crap is kids.
You know that was like, I don't know if it still works. It probably doesn't work anymore, but that was a trick people used to do before you could even set your own thumbnail in YouTube. Is they would just put a really sexy picture right in the middle of their video because that's where it would grab the thumbnail from.
Yeah,
and then have these like really sexy thumbnails, and that was their recipe to just basically get that first click,
right?
Even if the video was unrelated.
Stuff like this, though. Here we go. There are a couple of them that just like have unreal view counts, just unbelievable view counts. So like these guys right here,
What?
Yeah, 49 million views.
How did that one get promoted? The title's not even good.
That's what I'm saying. Some of this stuff is like, it's produced in, some of it's produced in former Eastern Bloc countries. Some of it's produced in Southeast Asia. Some of it's produced who knows where because they don't want to have to deal with doing it in English. So it's always pantomime. And then there are several of them that do like really, really well, where the players are all, there's nothing wrong with this, but they're all clearly Asian. And so it's like, oh, well, you made it pantomime so that it would cross borders really well. Mm-hmm. But then the music is absolutely terrible. They pantomime all this stuff. The lighting is, I mean, I can't really criticize the lighting based on what we're doing right now. It's not like, but it's not professional 3-point lighting. They threw a couple of lights behind her to give her a little rim light there, and then it's just thrown together. And
you know, like when you're on YouTube and you're like, how did I end up on this weird part of YouTube? This is like a weird part of YouTube I did not even know existed.
Oh, but look at the rabbit hole that it brings us afterwards. So now they have gummy, like Elsa and somebody else eating weird gummy things. And here's a 24/7 marathon of this crap being streamed.
It's like, and it's fair use. I mean, even if Disney tried to go after them, you could make, at least in the United States, or you could make a strong case for fair use.
Yeah. So let's see. 13 million. This is another good one.
I did not know this part of the internet even existed.
But to your point from before, it's not even like the internet. It is the YouTube net, right? Like
the YouTubes.
These dudes that have like dudes and ladies that have real intellectual capacity and are trying to deliver a message and create a conversation surrounding topics that are interesting at least. Maybe they're not as important as they think they are, but they're interesting at least. They're all getting kicked off YouTube. And this crap gets a free pass.
Yeah, right. Well, and massive view counts.
Yeah. Again, pantomime, Jinjin. I don't even know exactly what language that is. Looks like it should be something from...
I wish I could see the analytics. Of course, we don't have the privilege of seeing the analytics for these. Like, where are the views? I mean, maybe the views aren't coming from here, which is why I didn't know this part of the YouTubes even existed.
You can see so I've got the TubeBuddy Videolytics plugin right here, so we can see some stuff. But dude, there are no tags. They've gone through no effort, none at all. They just, by virtue of the content, kids are already seeking it out, and it gets added to some playlists that parents are like, it's safe. So how many girls have played the role of Elsa opposite some guy playing Spider-Man? I don't know. Let's see what else I have here, though. Yeah, I don't have much else there, but yeah, about 14.8 million views for the entire channel. This was their only big hit. But yeah, the stuff is just everywhere. Here's another party. Again, based on the language here, this looks like it could be, again, Laotian, Vietnamese, Thai, I don't know.
Oh. So it's meant to be programmed to kids, not...
Right, but then you'll find stuff that is right on the edge. So Spider-Man, Elsa, fart. You change one word. And there you go. There's a ton of this kind of stuff too, where it's like potty humor combined with this stuff. Yeah. So, man, I wasn't kidding. This rabbit hole goes very, very deep. I don't think we have time for this, but
man, and like, yeah, this is just more demoralizing. Even to think that meanwhile, like I said, guys like this sort of more anarchist libertarian channels are getting banned completely, and that like all the gun tubers are like terrified that they're going to get banned.
Oh yeah. They're all law-abiding citizens, and they enjoy the Second Amendment, as is their right, and after their fashion, and then they just shoot some videos of it. Why do people have to be so hateful? I don't get it. But yeah, you see, it just keeps going. Playlist after playlist after playlist after playlist of this stuff, and it's like, really? This kind of crap. So, but it's like very basic themes: eat, poop, like potty humor. So eating humor, potty humor, and then mashups with DC and Marvel and Disney characters. I don't know, man. But primarily,
and so jumping back to why this is even relevant to sort of like these alternative streaming channels, is that I think this more than anything illustrates the strength of the network effects on YouTube, right? Like the depth of the viewership there.
Yeah.
Not meaning the emotional depth.
Yeah, or intellectual depth.
Right. Intellectual depth, because the content speaks for itself. But I mean, I'm talking about the actual size of the actual viewership. Because I mean, I don't know if you know this, but YouTube is actually the number 2 search engine of the internet.
Yeah. Yes.
Google being the number 1 engine.
Yeah. Well, you
So
notice
people
I jumped over to
right?
YouTube to search for this stuff because I couldn't find it fast enough from Google.
Yeah.
When you're looking for content and when you're looking for how-to, especially, geez, it's unreal how big of a boost that those 2 words give your content on YouTube. But
so it's like it's not the streaming technology. I think they've done an amazing job of the platform itself. Now it's a matter of building the network effect. Because, like, for example, Vimeo has a slightly different viewership, or I should say it's marketed slightly differently to appeal to a slightly different audience, and that audience is like filmmakers and people looking for much higher quality video, right? So they built a slightly different community around that. But they still don't have the network effects that YouTube has. YouTube is sort of like the McDonald's of streaming, right? And they managed to build a massive viewership as a result. So, and here's another thing, because they own the other search engine, they can deprioritize ranking for other perfectly legitimate video platforms, like, let's say, BitTube or anybody else who's trying to do it. So, it's anti-competitive, but at the same time, why, if you have the monopoly on search, why would you bother to give your competition any edge at all, right? So
yeah,
those are the things that all these alternative streaming platforms need to fight against, is differentiating themselves in terms of like marketing, right? I mean, I think the anti-censorship thing, and so far no platform has emerged as a sort of alternative for some of these, like, but still, it's still a niche. I'm saying for, let's say, some of these like more like libertarian kind of anarchist type guys, that just say stuff like the Laura Southerns and the people like that. Like, what? Because she's a man legally. I don't know if you know that, but she actually is. Is it okay? It's one of the stunts that she did, which I thought was brilliant and inspiring. But they don't. They until they get banned from YouTube, they don't have much motivation to go to an alternative platform because of the network effects. Right. They're not going to be able to make as much money, and they're not going to get as much viewership, so their message won't go out as wide. And then so what happens? I don't know. A place like YouTube has it in their best interest to never ban so many people that there's a tipping point that there is an alternative to them. As long as they keep their Spider-Man and Elsa videos up and their other stupid crap, and keep the viewership up, they're going to maintain their strong position. Right.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me happy to see them there. But conflicted too. So yeah, man, DTube as a potential alternative. You see these guys, their currency and the network effect here has brought a lot of influencers from YouTube over to DTube. The other one was DLive, and this one only hit my radar this last week. But DLive.io, and DLive.io, they are primarily for streaming, so they've attracted a lot of gamers. These 2 guys are hilarious. The Hodge twins, they cleaned up on YouTube for years. They've just like done phenomenally well, because they do these like talking head videos as twins where they do like holla back and clap back content with each other. It's this shtick that's just hilarious, right? Where one of them, you actually have to see some of this stuff. But their topic of the day over here, topic du jour on DLive, is crypto, of course. They've hopped on that train. But DLive and DTube both use Steemit as sort of back end, so you're paid in Steam dollars. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure exactly how they've balanced it. These guys are hilarious. Oh, come here, Hodge twins. We got to see your channel really fast. But these guys.
Yeah. Big cone. Big cone. Big cone. Big cone. Big cone going to the moon. Yeah, man. Today we talking about when you should hold, when you should sell them cones. Here's the number 1 rule, man.
So I love that they call them bit cones. And but it's like all intentional, right? They play dumb so well. They're not pretentious at all, like where it's like, oh, we're where they pretend to be some kind of technical analysts. They just do the meathead thing, because all their content on YouTube was bodybuilding stuff and workout stuff. So you see his t-shirt, they still sell that in their merch store. Loading gains.
Loading gains.
Right. And so it's just hilarious.
That's a pretty sweet shirt, actually.
Right.
For how simple it is. I have my unicorn rainbow shirt, which nobody seemed to care about on, maybe eventually I'll be able to get that shirt made. I desperately want that shirt for myself. I'm not going to build it until I have enough, until I can gauge enough demand for it, because it's full color. It's like, it's like a $5,000 run just to do the first run.
Oh man, that is pricey. Well, bummer. These guys though, their thing is they've been professional like YouTubers and content creators. I don't think they would call themselves like air quotes influencers, but they can do product placement on their show and they can do sponsored videos and stuff. They've got enough of a following that this has been at least a supplement to their respective incomes for a while now, if not like a healthy addition to some of their income. Here on DLive, I think they used it because the platform was ready for them. I don't think. Yeah. Well, it kind of bums me out. They don't have like a dark theme, like a night theme and some other stuff, but referral program, obviously.
$335 for only 1,900 views.
Right.
Is that because people are tipping or like?
Upvotes helped. Looks like 0 gifts. Yeah. They've got the ticker right down there in the corner. So,
I mean, shoot, man, that crushes YouTube.
Oh, by a mile. And so, yeah, when you've got crypto involved, now I don't know if that is because Steam has gone up since they started publishing on this platform. This is only a month ago. It's just crazy. So they start all their videos that way too.
I think you'd be nuts to not put your to not simulcast your stuff if you're on YouTube, because like the amount of money you could make from this relative, and especially if you had enough of a YouTube following to actually make money on YouTube. Like for the people who get millions of views, I mean, that's any call to action they do is going to easily be able to drive some of the traffic here. I don't know if there might be something buried in the EULA on YouTube that you're not allowed to like push traffic to other sites. I don't know. I've never.
Well, and that's just it. If you ever saw Furious Pete, professional eater, like a competitive eater,
Furious Pete's awesome.
He's on DTube. So yeah, all of his stuff has gone to here, but Furious Pete 123. You see, this last month he kind of slowed down a little bit, but he moved almost all of his stuff over here. See, right? He even says it right there. See that? Laughing at YouTube's BS, 10 plus years of loyalty, and they tell me this. But the creators, they've been able to come over here and be uncensored, right? Some of the stuff that he did that would have made his videos ineligible for monetization, he comes over here and he can talk about it. He does his opening episode, talk to his girlfriend about like, hey, you can talk about whatever you want. She says something like semi-obscene. And he's like, yeah, you can talk about that if you want to. She's like, actually, just for, the sake of propriety, I kind of don't want to, but it's cool that I could.
Yeah.
And, but similarly built on IPFS, both these platforms. And here's...
Now, who's paying for the IPFS platforms? And that's one thing about having service nodes or master nodes, where I do sort of like, if you want to create like a completely self-sustaining system where like the actual, like you have a singular sort of blockchain, like the way Steam uses Steam to pay people and stuff like that.
Yeah. If
you wanted to make it completely bottled or self-contained ecosystem, having those master nodes participate, or the service nodes, whatever you want to call it. Because here's the thing, IPFS, as far as I know, I don't think there's until Filecoin finally ships, I'm not sure if there's, I think it's in beta now. I don't know if there's a way of actually like monetizing the IPFS component. Like somebody's maintaining those IPFS nodes.
Yeah, and that's where like I'm not super sure. I need to schedule a follow-up with Subair and with a better mic. Like it's a crazy thing. Not only was his mic really quiet, but apparently I had an issue here with my system where I'm convinced that I don't know where the layer was, what the problem was with either Windows audio subsystem or with Zoom or with OBS or something. But I went from 44.1 kilohertz to 48 kilohertz. And so my voice dropped like half an octave. Because it just got messed up. The sample rate just got messed up on the fly, stretched on the fly, but the playback rate was the same. So I was speaking at the same cadence, but with much deeper. It was weird.
Sounded like you were on drugs. No, wait. the sample rate changing wouldn't change the octaves though, unless they slowed down to play.
It totally
back.
does. It totally does. If you've ever so back in the day with CD burning software, if you accidentally got the sample rate incorrect, or if you were trying to go between audio for video, which is always 48 kilohertz, and audio for CDs, which is always 44.1, then it'd be like, you'd either have a speed up or you'd have a slow down. And I had, but it was reminiscent of those days, the CD burning days, where it was like, oh, something's off by just enough. I still sound human, but something's not right. But
the sync would slip slowly too over time, or your video would slow down. Either way,
seems like it seems like it should, but I don't know. Here, you need to hear this. First off,
on BitTube, right? We're not going to be doing YouTube for this first interview. What I'm going to do is
this is your Seth not on drugs.
To take the recording that we have.
I don't know, 360p videos. So there was no talks about HD and all these things. And sometimes we have HD, full HD.
Yeah, it's not that his mic was bad. It's that his acoustics in the room were really bad. He needs a mic closer to his face.
I mentioned that to him, that I was picking up all room tone, and I needed him to be like 6 inches closer to his mic. He drifted away.
But it's not. I mean, by the end, you're participating to the network. You're sharing.
So he talks about IPFS, their implementation of IPFS. You notice that I got almost near instantaneous playback when I pressed the play bar, even though they have fewer users on their platform. Whereas on DTube, you saw there are plenty of people using it, but it hung. It hangs frequently. And the same thing was true for file upload for me on DTube, which is why I stopped publishing to both platforms. And on this one, they had the one button click, import your content from Google's servers. It's like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah, right. Yeah, even if you do have to touch up the metadata a little bit on your own. Like, I mean, I think this video is great. I mean, I'd probably slog through listening to that terrible audio just because this platform is super interesting.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, man. I had a couple people complain about it, but then others were like, dude, are you effing kidding? This is the CEO and founder of a hugely important blockchain project. And you're really going to get all hung up because his audio wasn't perfect? The guy is he's not an audio engineer. He's the CEO of a company that, that's a media platform. Be like,
and it's I mean, do you have a dark theme here on intentionally, or is this its normal look?
Oh no, that's the other cool thing. I've got a dark theme, and it allows you to really do really intense customization. So I can
to your own channel, you're saying?
Yeah, to your own login. Yeah, the entire platform from your account. So I can switch from night mode, but you notice that the borders are still dark. So sidebar background can.
And this is just for your own view in your own account. This isn't the way you present your channel.
Yeah, just my own view. But you notice the highlights right there, the Loft brand, because I can still do whatever I want there for highlights and buttons and stuff.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so the theming was pretty awesome too. He was like, I don't really like that, but you can do whatever you want. So
now, this is geeky. I don't know if you do this yet, but I started wearing blue blockers at night to sort of keep my brain's light clock working. And it kind of sucks for watching video, but since I'm on the computer screen, dude, I don't even want to think about how many hours of screen time I get a day. But since I'm on a computer screen, so many hours, and there's a lot of blue in the screens. I don't want to mess up my calibration of my screen when I need it for color.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I need to cut the blue out at night to sort of trick my brain. So anyway, switching everything to dark modes like this is one of the tricks I do to just cut down the amount of light that comes off the screen.
Yeah.
And then put on blue blockers. And then that way I'm cutting out the blue that's coming to my eyes. And it does a really good job of sort of tricking your brain and slowly getting more relaxed in the evening.
Yeah.
So,
what I've been doing instead is Windows, thank goodness. I mean, they don't do everything perfectly. I got a button over here. Come here. But they occasionally get a few things right. And what they've got is that they've got a built-in nightlight. I'm going to click that right now. So it should, there you go, change the color temperature of my screen, my display.
You have a one button.
Yeah. Oh, you know what though?
Blocker.
Yeah, it looks like it only affected my main display, not the one that you're looking at, but yeah, it's built in. It's pretty darn cool stuff.
So the other problem, unfortunately, is I have high CRI lights everywhere to intentionally create daylight-looking light in my house, which is, of course, terrible at night if you're trying to trick your brain.
Yeah.
So So, I mean, it's like you pick your poison. You either want daylight like light in your house, or you want this like really super warm light that you can't see like shit with that. Like
right.
when you're trying to do work on things that are color sensitive, which of course as a visual artist, I need to be able to see like the actual color of things.
Right. I don't know if this is affecting it right now, but it gives me a preview. And I can kind of, do some slider work right there. Figure out like, is that comfortable? So, I mean, bravo, Microsoft. You, they don't do everything perfectly, but eventually they implement some stuff that's actually useful. So, but right here.
So this is my hack of just the whole environment's natural light when the artificial light's on, I should say high CRI, full color spectrum. But then to trick my eyes, I just put on glasses.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool, man.
And I can have screen time late into the night without completely jacking up my like brain. Just still thinks it's nighttime.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So to your point, these kinds of night themes and have the customization, so it's really granular. Like I can do custom colors on the border and the highlights and stuff too. If there's something that's a little bit better for me, I just chose to go with a bit of a cyan or whatever. Just it's not cyan, but aqua. Because it's kind of cool. I like that. A little less disruptive. But yeah, I like the platform here. I mean, you see what I'm seeing, right? Like there's a bunch that I think works. They've got a mining wallet you can download. I mentioned before, it's pretty easy to use. And then they make it really.
And so the main wallet is the web. Is the website also, or can you also use other? I mean, eventually there'll probably be wallet support from third-party wallets, but is that their main wallet? Is the web wallet?
Nope. So if you go to my wallet, you can download a desktop wallet. So it'll show you, it'll assign you a wallet address, but then you can download an offline wallet, and you can then import the keys that they issue to you here, or you can just start from scratch, do whatever you want.
Yeah, like create like almost like a cold wallet. Anything that touches the internet's technically not a cold wallet.
Right. But in the meantime, they do assign you a wallet for every account. So every account is associated with the wallet, and that's, it's kind of irrevocably your details are now associated with that wallet. So, so it's an interesting platform. I like it in that it's not just building on top of Steemit. Steemit is good. I think it's a really good platform, and it was a necessary step in the right direction. This one might only be a stepping stone also, but I like the fact that they're creating a platform that's very usable. Yeah, the live streaming went really well, but it's ephemeral, right? Like the moment you press stop on that live stream, it's over.
Oh, it doesn't record it?
Nope, doesn't record it for you. So that was a bummer. But they've got a bunch of other stuff. I don't know who is pushing this stuff, but they've got a bunch of TV stations that they're live streaming. And
no way.
Yeah,
I wonder if they've licensed that. They must have licensed it.
They've got a deal with Gala TV, which is an international, very popular. I looked them up. Very popular in some other territories, but Gala TV, they have signed on, so they're going to have some streaming channels from Gala TV. So they've got at least that deal, but it's not the TV that you and I know. So yeah, I'm wondering about the whole we're
what country is that?
Oh, Gala TV? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But there are a bunch of, there we go. This may well be one of the channels. Or not. But
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my content flagged here. So not let that play. But yeah, it's all Cartoon Network. You can see nothing that's not Cartoon Network about that. So yeah, they've got a couple of things they're streaming there. Surely this is just like in the same way that up till a few days ago, like literally the day that I did the interview with Subair, there was like adult content on the main site, and it wasn't necessarily like easy to find, but it was right there on the front page. I literally had to scroll like 1 or 2 pages down just below the fold. It was like, wait, this is on your main page? Really? Who's using this? Who's using this platform? Clearly only people who are like scammers and need fast clicks.
Well, they're also trying to people trying to cache their own porn collections into somebody else's storage so they get it off their own machine. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Whatever.
But in the meantime, oh, hey, Gala TV, that's them, actually. So maybe we can get a sense for what their content is.
Music videos from some...
Yeah. Serious stuff. So yeah, they've got a little bit of support. I'm impressed, man. So when you brought up Slate, the first thing that I thought of is like, okay, they've the CDN thing and this whole like blockchain video on demand. I don't know what that means. I think that it is an ICO in search of a problem. If that makes sense. That's my first thought, is a token launch in search of a problem, in search of a blockchain problem, and then giving it a trademarked name. For me was like, yeah, I'm not.
Well, that's a bit of a red flag for an open, something that should by its nature be an open source project. And I don't know. This is the challenge with blockchain in general, in terms of being the all singing, all dancing solution for all things, right? Is that there is a layer that needs to touch. Like if you're talking about content distribution of copyrighted content, there needs to be a company to negotiate those content deals, meaning that it is by nature, that kind of project does not lend itself to being decentralized.
Yeah.
Where is the compromise of where it crosses the line of being too centralized to really be a good fit for blockchain? I mean, I know. I think there is a balance to be struck between sort of like a blockchain, using blockchain as a settlement layer and a backbone for a project, and having a centralized authority for cases like this. Like we were talking about things like render token or even just executing arbitrary workloads, right? Independent of somebody's proprietary rendering technology. Who is the trust authority that is the binding trust authority for the sort of like licensing deal of the software license? There has to be an entity on point, even if it is a foundation that has a duly sort of elected or sort of at least empowered representative that can bind that entity. It's just like, unfortunately, in the real world, digital autonomous corporations are not recognized as actual legal entities anywhere yet.
Yeah.
They have to have a governing body, which means that they are backed by humans and they are, to some extent, centralized. That entity is the central entity, right?
Yeah.
Now, how much central control do they impose on the digital autonomous organization or corporation once that also exists, right? There is going to be that decentralized component. So how much authority does that centralized component do? Like EOS is a great example of recently where they published that ban list, right? While we're talking about this kind of component of it,
yeah.
the sort of centralized versus centralized. The EOS Foundation, or I'm not sure what the central body is called, but the EOS Foundation or whatever, they sent out that ban list or whatever they called it, blacklist. And one of the block producers didn't, I don't want to use the word comply, that might not be the right word, but didn't get their thing implemented, their changes to their node implemented, and it apparently led to some loss of funds. But yeah, there we go. EOS block producer fails to comply with arbitrator's blacklist order. And a lot of the other blockchain block producers were like ganging up on them.
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah. And this is, the whole the delegated proof of stake is, it does seem problematic because
there we go.
Yeah.
This is maybe the very article that I read.
Nice. Yeah. I'm a little bit concerned about it, man. Like it's weird. Yeah. There are problems when it comes to a settlement layer. And there are problems when it comes to certain kinds of applications. But in my mind, not every project, not every technology is a good fit for blockchain. We can't blockchainify all the things.
Yeah.
Even if we
not
want
everything.
to.
Certain things, it just they're not a good fit. It's just over complexifies the solution in the end.
Which is in and of itself an ironic word because it's an complication of the word overcomplicated.
Yes, it's an onomatopoeia. Wait, that's not what an onomatopoeia is it?
Oh no, I think it's what is it? Self-referential humor.
What is it? Onomatopoeia. That's the word when you reverse it, it's the same word.
No, it's a word that sounds like the thing.
Okay.
That is, yeah. Anyway,
now we got to look it up.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody's going to comment in the comment. These guys are idiots. They don't know what that word means.
Right, because we're not both English scholars. Nobody is anymore. So step off.
Oh, okay. It's a word that sounds like the thing it is.
Yeah, cuckoo, sizzle. Yeah.
Overcomplexifies might sort of, I don't know, not really.
No,
doesn't make the sound.
Yeah, right.
Sound.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think it's a funny joke.
Complexification.
Overcomplexity. But, but yeah. But it's in, do we dare look at Urban Dictionary for this word? We're about to get ripped. When you take a simple solution and make it so complex that no one can follow the path, you're making things too complicated. Making a decision? Yeah. They overcomplexify. I think it's a good word, though, because it's like, wait, that word in and of itself is overcomplicated. Haha. It's funny. Anyway, I thought it was great. But no, this is great, man. Like, but yeah, EOS, like EOS, I think everybody in that space likes to call it. I'm with you. Like there are some serious problems here. When a friend of mine from DreamWorks was like, yeah, I've got a blockchain producer candidate that he's running, Blockgenic. That's cool. And I really do. I hope that things turn out really well for him and for his company. But yeah, EOS is a platform. There are some things that don't mix well with blockchain, and there are some concepts that seem to be having a really rough start. But this whole concept of like entertainment, I'm struggling to see exactly what kind of value they're adding to blockchain or exactly what value blockchain is adding to their idea. Because everything about it is, like you said, slick video. I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar commercial. It's a multi-million-dollar commercial. In any other space, if you were to ask, rather, I'm sorry, if Coors Light wanted to make this video for the Super Bowl and you worked in an ad agency, it would cost you like $5 to $10 million.
Yeah, but they probably didn't spend that much because it's not airing in Super Bowl, because that's you're talking about the ad buy as well.
Sure.
And but this is a one-day shoot maybe, so it's not going to cost that much money.
Right, but this guy's day, I mean, so now you're just talking about, yes, it's not a multi-million video, it's a multi-100,000 video. My point still stands. Yeah. This guy wasn't cheap. His day, there's no way this guy's day is less than 20 grand. Period. At the career level that he's at right now, his day's not less than 20 grand. All the other day players, they're getting whatever the SAG rate is, right? So they're not ultra expensive, but then you probably have some people who are in on the project also making cameos, like the guy in the Litecoin morph suit or whatever. And
let's see who the team is and see how many bridges I've inadvertently burned by even talking to you about this.
Well, here's the guy's disclaimer disclosure statement. I have nothing to do with the Slate team, and all opinions expressed are my own. Anything that sounds negative is probably a leading statement from me. So if any bridges deserve to be burned, it's because my channel is kind of getting a reputation as it's the reputation. It's the channel that ICOs fear now, apparently, because I don't take paid interviews. So when a project looks dumb, I just call a spade a spade. I just call it dumb.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, let's see. Do I know any of the people who are working? Because I actually only just skimmed through the site. I saw the video and I'm like, oh, and I sent the link to Seth. I didn't really.
Yeah, so what's funny? A lot of these images hadn't populated last time that I checked this site too. So this could be fresh.
I don't know any of these. I know Cal. I've spoken to a little bit. He's involved with Polymath.
Right. Okay, yeah. So that's cool. And Polymath is, I mean, they're on track to do some important things. They've got their eyes on some really lofty goals, which is awesome.
The fact that he's involved, I mean, that's probably a good sign. At least they have some help there.
Ian sounds familiar.
Platform business development.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's associated with.
Yeah, I don't know any of these other people so far.
Okay, so founders and board of directors. And then partnerships. Hit BTC is on board. In the press. Here's the thing. A lot of this press is pay to play.
Hollywood Reporter?
I don't know. Variety. Variety also. I mean, these are important. These are important publications in the space. But CCN and Cointelegraph certainly.
They've done a good. Yeah, they've done a good job of getting of doing their PR marketing stuff to get in the trade press at least, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to realize, man, in Hollywood, the buzz is as important as the actual thing, right? The sizzle's as important as the steak.
Sure, but dude, blockchain is not a Hollywood feature film. You know what I mean? You can't sell Michael Bay on the blockchain.
I don't know if you remember, but I don't know if you remember back in the day, back when there was like I can't remember the name of the early streaming platforms and stuff. It's sort of like late.com era, early.com era. Some of the Hollywood slash over it was set-top box stuff and some of the early broadband streaming stuff. I mean, anytime that a Hollywood studio got involved in that kind of stuff, it was newsworthy in the trade press. So
right,
there was an era when that sort of intersection of sort of Hollywood and it wasn't even. It was sometimes I would say Silicon Valley, but yeah, the Silicon Valley and the Hollywood kind of stuff. That was a big deal back then. Those alliances have now become sort of long-standing at this point. They're old news. But this is sort of like the next iteration of that kind of thing, right? Of the tech and Hollywood thing.
Yeah, I guess
is the.
Yeah, no. You're totally right. And the concern that I have is that it is a long-standing thing, but also we're in a post tech plus Hollywood world where you've got characters like Netflix that, I mean, you know, they dethroned Disney. I mean, I don't know how long it's been, but for a very short time, they dethroned Disney as the top valued entertainment company in the world. That's huge. And so you've got people like this talking about like, oh, we're going to solve all these problems with blockchain video on demand. And it's like, well, the CDN isn't the problem. And video on demand isn't the problem. And blockchain doesn't solve either one of those things in any meaningful way that I can tell. So that's why I say in my mind, a token sale looking for a problem, a blockchain problem to solve, right? Like attempting to apply a blockchain hammer to an otherwise database and CDN nail.
Now I'd have to do the due diligence on the team too and see do they have a background in this sort of partnership building space? Because some of this team may have good deep connections that would actually lead to them being able to build the alliances that they need. Because that's, like you said, it's not the CDN part that necessarily needs to be fixed. Given their particular, let's see, open analytics, not a big deal. Unrestricted global access, not a big deal. Ticketing, okay, seems like a sidecar. But the video on demand is what they lead with, and that seems like, yeah, that's a CDN. Yeah. But the bigger component of that is the licensing deal, not the CDN, not the distribution part, the licensing part.
Well, and that's why, going back to the beginning of the conversation, when Saber was talking to me about the platform, he mentioned that they have content protection and pay-per-view on the very near roadmap. That these are imminent releases for their platform, and it got me thinking, like, well, crud, like it took Google quite a while on YouTube to get to that point, right? Before they could start offering ads to ad publishers, right? Start saying like, hey, we're ready for ad dollars now, because we've started to clean up our act. And it took them years of litigation between Hollywood and anybody else that had a stake in content, years of litigation and saying like, hey, we're working on it, growing pains, bear with us. And they finally got to that point. And now it's so restrictive on the small time content creators that, and it's so obvious, so very obvious that YouTube is with their YouTube Red or whatever, YouTube Premium, whatever they're calling it, when the dust clears, whatever they wind up calling their premium service, it's very obvious that they're attempting to get back in the game with what Netflix has already become the dominant player at. And so I'm looking at this and thinking, well, like, okay, if these guys are standing kind of on Google's shoulders with content ID matching, right, for DRM. So content ID matching algorithms, both for audio, which are very mature now, right? On several public cloud platforms, you've got really mature audio content matching, very mature video content matching, not just still frames, not just like facial recognition or object recognition, but you got some really, really usable content ID matching on public cloud. And that's public cloud. Imagine if you can start saying like, yeah, we do have those relationships. So to your point, if there's somebody on these guys' team that is like, yeah, I've got the ear of AMC or whatever, or I've got the ear of Warner Brothers, then maybe that makes enough of a difference for them to then quickly push through the token sale and quickly, I don't know, maybe they do an acquisition. Maybe maybe they've got their eyes on BitTube already. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you, man, just the fact that they said that they're interested in running it, part of their ecosystem is service nodes, already interests me as being really interested in master nodes and service nodes right now. So like just being purely like mercenary, right? Like, and you're a lot of your audience is miners. I'm like, okay, what's in it for me if I want to run a master node? How big, how many terabytes does it need to be, and how much bandwidth do I need, and what's it going to pay me?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm that's more like what I'm interested in. I may not ever view any video on their platform at all, but if I could actually be a service node and actually make decent money running a service node for them, that might interest me.
That makes sense. So popping up on the white paper really fast, I wanted to see, I looked this over and it was hard for me to get through because it's really slick, but it looks like a pitch deck. It doesn't look like a white paper.
Yeah. That's usually a red flag.
Yeah. So introduction for consumers worldwide, entertainment is a necessity. And I'm like, oh my gosh, stop. Please tell me. I don't want like 2 or 3 pages. Warren Buffett stated that. Like, Warren Buffett is not on your board. Stephen King said Stephen King is not on your board. Winston Churchill said, well, Winston Churchill is definitely not on your board.
Yeah. Maybe he is.
Right.
They just kind of like strap him up.
Yeah, there's a guy named Winston somewhere on the team. You can get him to change his name legally. We got enough money. So yeah, kind of looking at this and Binge Media Corp. That actually, kudos for for making a name that's like so on the nose. It's about time that somebody actually took that name. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a cool name.
But then the Slate multi-layer ecosystem. It's like, hi, 2011 called and it wants its buzzwords back. Don't call it an ecosystem. Just tell us what it does. Just tell us what it does. But it took us 6 pages to get here, to get to a mission statement at all. Introducing the Slate Entertainment Corp. It's page 6. And then the ecosystem. Cool. Entertainment Utility Protocol. So the SLX token is a token or it's the utility protocol? Because if it's a utility protocol, then doesn't that make it application level blockchain? So now I'm confused.
Is there a network diagram thing? I didn't read the white paper.
I tried to, and I couldn't. For me, it was hard. It was like watching the what is it, the Star Wars prequels. I just kind of fell asleep.
Oh. Like I said, I'm basically just being purely sort of mercenary. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt simply because I want to make money running a service node.
That's awesome, and I can see how like if there's real utility in that service node, in the service node network, like. I don't mean to speak so poorly that I wouldn't be like, make it seem like I'd be unwilling to have them on the show and talk about it and maybe have whoever their technical advisor team is or whoever's actually attempting to solve these problems on the show. But I can see from the rest of the lineup of the team, I don't think anybody else can speak at the level that my audience would care to hear about it. That's just shooting straight. I don't know.
So you already skimmed through the white paper. Is there any network or architectural diagram or anything to just sort of describe a little bit better how?
Nope, just buzzwords like new wave of disruption and another quote from somebody who's okay, good.
A case study with Netflix.
Right. Hey, another case study with Uber, another one with Airbnb. Woohoo! Creator versus provider, and here's where they talk a little bit about compensation, but then they use Netflix as the baseline. Now, to their credit, they're talking about attempting to get Hollywood like A-list titles. So I understand that the margins are going to be very different, and acquiring those libraries, those catalogs, is going to be a very different conversation from the one that Saver is having over in Canary Islands about this stuff. I totally get that. But still, in a white paper for a blockchain project, it's like, invoking Netflix, you need to bring something really hard hitting on the technology side.
Well, Netflix now, since they're producing so much of their own content and stuff, I mean, they're like a juggernaut already.
Oh yeah,
they're an 800-pound gorilla,
without a doubt, right? I mean, that's why they're gobbling up indie content left and right. Fox Searchlight, where are they? Sony Pictures Classics, I haven't seen that name on anything in like 3-4 years. So, but subscription video on demand, and it's funny because they're talking about video on demand and opportunities for air quotes disruption. Yeah, channel strategies.
I just realized I kind of probably have to make a disclosure because I do have an alliance partnership with a company called Crowded Cloud, and their mission's different from here. So it's what do we call it? It's a development agreement. I have an MOU with them for doing cloud ecosystem development. It's been announced at one of our events that we did already, but the real marketing pitch is about to happen. So
okay.
Full disclosure, it's not competitive with this, but it might at first blush sound similar. It's more focused on the production end of the ecosystem, not the distribution side, right?
Okay.
So I don't want anybody accusing me later of saying, you were completely slamming those Slate guys. It's like, well,
yeah,
I'm not slamming them. I told you, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, provided I can make money running a service node.
right. Yeah. And for my part, I'm just like, I approach all these projects with the mentality of very high skepticism. There have been very few projects that I brought onto my channel, onto my show, where skepticism hasn't been my initial stance. So if they're upset, like, don't feel special. You're not the first for me to evaluate and be like, I don't know if you can deliver.
Put you under the death ray, the laser beam.
Right. Well, and I don't know that I'm capable of delivering the laser beam that can destroy their momentum.
Yeah. It's not like you're the highest authority in this industry. You're just a dude on the internet talking smack.
Oh, but 2018, man, the power of a dude on the internet talking smack. Joe Rogan, for example, that guy, if he wanted to, if he had like a malicious bone in his body, he could just go like leaving a trail of wrecked bodies, just utter carnage. But he's paid the cost on network TV and stuff. So it says intends to access the best content in the world. Here's where I think like what they want to do is very. It's huge, right? So I don't mean to be like too big a detractor, because it's hard enough, right, without people constantly talking smack. But at the same time, when you make claims like that, you need to start being able to answer tough questions.
Well, if you look at the amount of money they're attempting to raise based on the sort of the hard cap of their coin supply, and I mean 3 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but they've got like billions of coin supply. They're trying to raise like millions of dollars. So if they succeed in raising I don't know, because they seem to be doing a lot of advertising. If they succeed at raising those millions of dollars, like one of my mentors once told me, okay, there's a couple ways to succeed as a startup. One is to get things perfectly right the first try. And essentially everyone just wants the thing you want so bad that you literally can't make it fast enough to just, people are like, shut up and take my money, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is to be so well funded that you can just fuck up like as many times as necessary,
right,
to get it right, to where everyone's like, shut up and take my money.
Right. Like, wow. So, and you got a story to tell too, where like we found every way to do it wrong. It only cost us $13 million.
Yeah. And the investors didn't care at all, because in the end we won, right? And the other thing, of course, there's another outcome that can occur, is you just continue to make mistakes and then die, and then your investors never see any upside. So
yeah, trail of broken dreams. So okay, they mention here they mention the masternode operators under affordable service with their the binge platform right here. They say masternode operators will receive proof of service and staking rewards for providing the primary content distribution infrastructure to the network. As a result, Slate proposes to adopt inflationary model to ensure the commercial viability of the return on investment to MNOs. In other words, lower storage obligation cost translates directly into lower rates for monthly subscription-based service and transactional pay-per-view. Essentially, I think they're interested in giving masternode operators a discount on the service. It's kind of what I'm seeing here. They're more interested in helping Joe video game streamer that's got a couple of 5 terabyte drives lying around. I think that they're trying to give him a discount to go see a movie. That's what I'm reading. No geographic restrictions. Tell that to the Great Firewall of China. I don't prove it. The significant reduction of piracy.
Because the CDN, I would want guarantees of high quality of service, and you're not going to necessarily get that with amateur masternode operators.
Oh, right. Totally. So not really seeing that there. Rewards of incentives of subscribers. Marketing strategists value word of mouth. Why is it in quotes? This is a real thing when you don't have to pay to play all the time.
Growth hacking. Yeah, growth hacking and word of mouth there's word of mouth and then there's word of mouth. And growth hacking is, it's like Fight Club. The number one rule of growth hacking is don't talk about growth hacking.
Right.
There's more to successful word of mouth. First of all, the thing has to not suck, right? Stage one. But once you've gotten over that hurdle, you can shape the word of mouth. You can magnify it or yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. But
multiply that word of mouth effect.
The way that they're talking about it here indicates to me that they don't really understand what it is. Again, going on to quote Jeff Bezos, who is not on the board. So streaming in a growth market, statistical indicators. This is cool. So numbers, you're telling me that people are connected to the internet. I already knew that. Solution conclusion, streaming media. Hey, thanks, Bill Gates.
Is this a straight up utility token play?
Let's find out. We're in page 16 of the white paper, and I still don't know.
Because, respect to these guys if they're doing it as not a security when the platform may or may not be built yet.
Yeah, I know there are a couple of projects that are launching. I've got a friend who runs an online programming school, and he launched a token, and they're SEC compliant, but it's different. So they don't assert that the token itself has any value. But there are a lot of ways to go about that. I can't really tell from the white paper what they're after here. The tokenized ticketing application, again, I don't know if that's broken. I don't know if it's a problem. I don't know if it's a problem that blockchain is uniquely suited to solving.
I can't think. I mean, I normally just buy tickets normally at retail price. I'm not even part of any of those clubs yet.
But they're talking about.
I only usually see a movie, maybe one movie a month or so.
When they're talking about ticket sales too, this is ephemeral for all intents and purposes. It's ephemeral media in that, like, what is in the theater today? What is in the theater today? Not Wreck-It Ralph 2, but gosh, there was a sequel, the Jurassic World sequel. It's in the theater today. 5 months from now, I don't need that ticket. I don't need distributed immutable ledgers for the ticket that I'm going to go see Jurassic Park 2 with, Jurassic World 2 with.
Well, understanding. I mean, I would just want to have tokens that could be. I mean, like think of it this way, like these club ticket club things. Oh yeah, immutable.
I don't understand. Forgery resistant. I'm holding a ticket that I got from the box office. Somebody else could forge it, but for me as a consumer, it does not infringe on my ability to enjoy it. It ain't broke. I don't need blockchain to fix that.
Well, I would want something more like these ticket subscription services where you can roll it forward sometimes per month. So it'd just be like movie bucks, and whether or not that even necessarily needs blockchain is another issue too, because it just depends on, it's a technical implementation detail. You could still have a centralized database for that.
Right. And beyond that, using a membership like that,
that's necessary to,
to your point, rollover movie bucks or whatever, or rollover movie tickets. Maybe they're issued like an entire movie pass, like for one entire feature. Maybe that's the increment of each token. Again,
they'd have to get burned. I mean, if they were movie passes, they would have to get burned when you redeem them and then just disappear. If they were like movie bucks, they could go back into circulation, or they'd be like a bearer instrument, and that might be part of the logic here. It's a bearer instrument that's it's like a physical coupon. It's a little easier to transfer to somebody.
Yeah.
Else, if you wanted to say sell it on exchange or give it to a friend, it's electronic, but it's more easily transferable without the centralized authority having to be the main sort of handler of that transfer.
Yeah, but here's the thing: what if I want a paper wallet of my movie bucks? Wait a second.
Depends on how they built their terminal.
It looks a lot like a movie ticket, doesn't it? Gosh,
well, it
darn
sure does. It sure does. But at least it's harder to counterfeit, because if you had a coupon, you could make a Xerox copy of it and give it to a friend, and then they could go and redeem it. It wouldn't have a unique. But then if it had a unique code, it would have already been redeemed. Then when it phoned home to check with the centralized database, if the coupon was still good, they go, well, this coupon's already been redeemed. So there's like more than one way to handle this. It's not like like you said, it doesn't necessarily need blockchain to solve that.
Right. And I'm just trolling with my paper Slatix wallet.
Is this app built yet that they're visualizing here?
I don't think so. Yeah,
I'm just thinking of like, if you're talking about like, SEC compliant type offerings, there's already some sort of red flags in this white paper in terms of like forward-looking statements.
So there you go. Hey, Slate, this guy does consulting. So reach out to my brother about this. He wants to see your project succeed so he can be a master node operator. So reach out to him. Get a consultant that understands the space. Well, my best experience is my own Reg CF, which didn't do so well. So but a lot of this stuff wouldn't be allowed to say in your presentation there. It's a little too speculative. Right. So Slatix for enterprise, buying and selling your tickets, easy event discovery. Again, a problem that I don't think that they've shown expertise in solving. Meetup.com doesn't even make event discovery all that easy. But when they do make event discovery based on locality easy, they've been doing that for 10 years now, almost. Doesn't need blockchain. So I don't understand. Verified trustworthy reviews. Well, I'd be more concerned about also, let's say, just big picture, and especially based on a lot of your negative comments, Seth, is that I wouldn't say they're trying to boil the ocean, but it's like the value proposition's a little spread a little thin, right? Like, I agree. If they could choose any one of these potential mission statements, and if they can show that they have the technical team that has any ability to execute, I would be so much less negative. I'd be so much less skeptical. Yeah. Like if it was just the tickets, or if it was a loyalty program, or if it was just the streaming with master nodes, and because that's already like trying to boil the ocean. Like I said, the content licensing part of the streaming thing would be the scary thing for me. In terms of execution, the technical stuff, it's scary enough. In terms of execution risk, actually being able to negotiate those licenses for content is even more scary. Yeah, and right here, this is interesting in that they've brought up a problem that for me I wouldn't even know was a problem, but the idea of bot purchasing. But again, as a consumer, I don't know who this white paper is focused on. Probably it's focused on people who are interested in the token sale, and by extension, probably very much focused on people who are already investing in Hollywood. So this is the type of piracy. This is the type of problem that for them they are already seeing, and for them they're interested in. But I think for the average blockchain enthusiast who's like trying to invest also, I don't know that they'd be familiar with this particular problem domain. So it's interesting they bring this up, but bot purchasing as their e-ticket sales. So that's cool. Credible reviews from verified users. There's so many platforms trying to crack this problem, right? Rotten Tomatoes might be a good use case for blockchain. Maybe, I don't know. But it's a platform that's already been attempting to do this. Cred Score, it's a whole new platform where they're trying to centralize their authority and then say that they're going to use blockchain to do it. I've advised some other teams on this.
on the stuff. Identity is one of the hardest things when it comes to this stuff, and it's difficult without a little bit of centralization. But it seems like they're comfortable with that anyway.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I read all this stuff, and it reads to me like a pitch deck for a website, not for a blockchain product. Like here, rewards and incentives for website users. Oh, okay. I can read that and believe it. Solution, electronic ticketing, cool. On a website, cool. Blockchain, team, where? But I don't.
Oh, cool. Now I get to see some of the background of. Hey, at least the boss is a software guy.
Yeah, no, that's great. They've got a real-time data processing big data guy, which is cool. And they've got, like you said, Cal from Polymath, so that's good. Optify, I don't know what they do. Wireless media measurement. This guy does sports betting on blockchain. That's cool.
I mean, the team actually looks like they could execute on this. And they're raising stupid amount. I mean, well, if they hit their coin max cap,
right,
they're going to raise stupid amounts of money. They're not reporting how much they've raised. Did the website, was it reporting how much they've raised?
I don't think so. Let's jump back in a minute. But this guy, Nate, he runs XYZ Films. And I think that he's on board to license their catalog, the XYZ catalog. I think that's part of why he's there, unless I'm reading incorrectly. Yeah.
And if they do raise large amounts of money, large-ish amounts of money, that does change things for them quite a bit in terms of their ability to do other stuff. I mean, raise more money, basically, based on that money.
Yeah.
As soon as you have money in the bank, then a lot of banks want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, right. No, totally. And that's like you were saying before, money solves so many problems, both in Hollywood and in tech startup land, right? Regardless of where you are. Mm-hmm. But right here, XYZ Films. So the companies that all of these board members own are clearly strategic partners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, roadmap, token launch, issue coins, encourage staking, basic masternode launch, content. So CDN is coming out Q4 of 2018, which is, again, for me, is like there are actual blockchain CDNs that are already running. They will have had an 18-month head start on you by that point.
Well, they may just leverage, depending on how much of that's open source, they may just leverage that technology.
Yeah, that makes sense.
IPFS or whatever.
That makes sense. Content upload and payment gateways, client streaming and web mobile full node apps. So we're looking at, in Q4 of 2019 is when there's a product that's actually usable for an end consumer. Okay.
Yeah. So the token is not a security.
So Dash, PivX, and Libri. Okay, they're already invoking Libri. Proof of stake, not a proof of work system, thereby reducing the environmental impact, opening up the possibility of strategically aligned incentives for network participation.
Oh, hey, there is a architectural diagram.
It looks like one.
Let me take it all in. It's going to take me a little while here. Figure out how it works. Node owners, service nodes, data apps. The main blockchain or token is meant to coordinate everything, and that it's like it's like a money-like token basically for settlement between these different layers. And then they have these two ecosystems built around it, right? SlatX and Vinge, with the blockchain as the coordinating and sort of settlement layer. It's funny that the Slate owners are considered different from the consumers, but the consumers pay for access, but and they're paying the blockchain, which implies that they're paying in their token, the Slate token.
I don't know, maybe not. Maybe by the time they get to the product consumers, maybe the idea is that they will be paying in fiat. And that's the other thing that kind of has me concerned. Like, if you think that end users are going to be paying in fiat, then why are you dealing with blockchain?
Well, you have to incentivize node operators, and so in this architectural diagram over to the right, over by the staking wallets and the Slate owners, that wouldn't play into this per se. But if you wanted to settle with service nodes, like we talked about this a little bit apropos of useful proof of work. it really, in some ways, having an automated system for settlement does simplify things, even though blockchain doesn't necessarily simplify things. You might argue that it has a more complicated system as the back end than, say, just paying them in dollars. But if you have a system for that's also tied into it to verify things. I mean, one of the interesting things about a CDN that's a service node is how do you absolutely prove quality of service? You have to have some kind of oracle. I mean, at a certain point, you end up building this layer of like it's onions layers of like. But basically, you have to have something that can't be gamed, right? Because any gap in game theory that will allow gaming the system will absolutely be exploited immediately.
Oh yeah,
that's the important thing. That when I've been advising some of the projects that I have advised, when they put stuff out in front of me, I said, okay, that's great, that sounds amazing. Except for that, how are you going to enforce the behavior you just described to me technologically?
Right.
What is the mechanism between this really lofty idea you have and point A and point B of literally keeping everybody from just essentially building their own money printing machines and screwing the entire ecosystem over? Because of course it'll make the system collapse. So so then the ecosystem won't work because you have too many people gaming it, right? So so I'm trying to figure out, like, for your service nodes, how do you you'd have to still have an oracle of some kind that could challenge it from time to time. There's some good papers on sort of like the Filecoin and IPFS stuff, mostly Filecoin, for sort of how to like try to enforce at least file uptime and quality of service stuff.
Nice. Which, yeah, for streaming, I mean, that's awesome. That is not an awesome application because you need to have verifiable bit rates and and image quality.
Yeah, you just have to know that they're not lying, right, to this network. And to collect their reward.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess I'm still kind of wondering what the incentive is for the end consumer, because this is, after all, this is intended to be a long-running business. I think they want more than a couple of years out of this. I think they want more than the end of 2019, getting to the end of the roadmap they had laid out there, and they want this project to have some kind of longevity. So I'm wondering, like, so why do consumers pay for access to the Slate blockchain? Why do they discover and rate titles using in their SlateX system? Why do, like, what is the discovery mechanism for them to find titles on the data apps? Like, it's cool that you're having very high level conversations. Rather, you're having conversations with IP holders, like, a la Disney and Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios and such. So if you're talking about acquiring their catalog, that's great. So now you really are talking about a battle of you versus Netflix, because Netflix is already having those conversations. So the end, like you mentioned before, what incentivizes a consumer to do what you want? The game theory here. I don't understand how any of this is appealing to a consumer.
Well, it has to, from a consumer standpoint, they has to have a catalog of video they want to see. That's all they care about, at a price that they are comfortable with.
Right. So, and using I'm gonna add that and say at a cost that they can pay. They can use not just that it has to do with finances, but that there is not an additional undue unnecessary cost. So if the entire ecosystem requires that they use a token or requires that they use some new cryptocurrency for them, then that's like expecting that everyone is going to suddenly, like, it proves a lot of the criticisms of cryptocurrency right when you have something like this and it's like, oh, everyone's going to use our token to buy our stuff. Why? Because we have the catalog. Okay, but they can just use the dollars they already have to buy that catalog somewhere else, or to see a movie some other way. So what's going to stop them from doing it some other way? Like, why is this inherently better for consumers?
Compare this to the thing that I told you about earlier when I pitched the whole thing of just using BitTorrent to distribute movies and let them propagate on their own. In essence,
yeah.
I mean, if you had the proprietary player, you could still use that to track views, and this whole model collapses into like 3 participants. You have the content owner, who all the monetization, all other stuff is the hard part about that is figuring out how do I get someone to prepay for producing all this content. I'm have to monetize it almost 100% upfront, or at least the fractional component that I think that this streaming or this BitTorrent based distribution model is represents, right?
Right. Or we'll put them here because they failed to put that person as an entity.
Then you release that into the ecosystem and it just propagates, boom, just out. And then people watch it. And if you wanted to track who was watching it, you could track it via that if you had a proprietary player. And all it really is a player that has the right encryption keys, which of course will probably get cracked almost immediately. But you could actually have maybe rotating encryption keys. I don't know, maybe phone home to a centralized entity to get a key. And then you could essentially track views of your thing as it propagated out over the network. Now you have a simple client software that you had to write, probably had to write anyway, because most normal people, BitTorrent's too complicated for them to deal with. Now it's essentially a CDN built around BitTorrent.
Yeah. And
you have all of 2 or 3 parties and an incredibly simplified network diagram or anyway, that's why when I tried to pitch, and I even whiteboarded this thing for these guys when I drew it, and they still, because of the fact that you were in essence, it felt to them like you were releasing your content just into the wild, like you were throwing it on the internet intentionally. I'm like, yeah, but the whole point is that's happening to you anyway.
Yeah, right.
That's literally, I'm telling you how to monetize that so that you're not having them eat your lunch, that you're literally just playing ball and lowering the barrier to entry of the people who are ripping you off anyway.
Right.
And you're putting the convenience column in a slightly different place. So using the sort of iTunes model where it's $1
per title
song or whatever. Yeah, and you make everything into a single basically. That you're basically saying, well, you just come get the movie and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah,
the ads are embedded.
Totally. Well, I'm sure you noticed I just drew your diagram directly over this diagram because this doesn't make all that much sense to me. Now, granted, I'm going to be a voice of skepticism here, probably moving on. So, protocol that focuses on business. Yeah, you think? Obviously, it focuses on business. It does not focus on the end user. It does not focus on anybody else related to mining. It focuses on anybody that already has a big bag of cash that they want to stake, or people who are interested in operating a masternode to the level, like you said before, to the level that is required for a high performance network, which is, again, somebody that maybe doesn't have a big bag of cash, but they already have a big bag of tech, which for all intents and purposes requires a big bag of cash before then. So,
well, and do the master nodes, I actually don't have a Netflix subscription. I have a Amazon Prime subscription, and that's it right now. But and I get HBO with an extended whatever HBO subscription there. Does Netflix have ads in it still when you're watching TV shows, or is it all inclusive?
Netflix has never had ads in it. Yeah, they've never run ads. Hulu does that.
Hulu.
Yeah, when you have the paid membership, which is okay. So you pay for the privilege of watching TV the day after it runs. You don't pay for the privilege of watching it ad-free. It's weird. Mm-hmm. But, at least that can be described, right? That can be described in one sentence. The value prop is still there. You pay for quick access. You don't pay for ad-free access.
You could pay for convenience, too. You can be a cord cutter and stream it wherever from your laptop or when you're on the road.
Right.
And I'm assuming on demand for some of the it probably takes a while for the old shows to disappear from the playlists and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's the value proposition. It seems like there's always room in the market for competition, but
totally.
I think about for me, it seems okay, see, these guys are basically trying to get me as a stakeholder in their token to build a CDN for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then they're making comments like this, high-level comments that to me just don't make sense. Binge will deliver streamed content to each user as a partition of the full video file, dynamically building each file as it is streamed. Okay, so using any number of peer-to-peer systems that have existed for forever, you're not solving problems there. And
like
you're
I
not
just
even,
described a system that's literally peer-to-peer for the CDN that can do just that.
right? Yeah.
Without the need for masternodes.
Yeah. But then also, but these guys saying that without like, dude, this is a white paper. It's not, it shouldn't read like a pitch deck. It's a white paper. You can have a pitch deck. You can have a pitch deck separately, but write a pitch deck. And call it a pitch deck. Don't call it a white paper. If you're going to write a white paper, make these high level statements and then say, at this phase of development, we are considering the use of whatever it is, I2P, BitTorrent, whatever it is that you're looking at using for your peer-to-peer system. IPFS, right? Another one we've already had in this conversation. We're talked about in this conversation. But just say the Slate protocol will allow businesses, etc. It's like, dude, don't brand everything. If you're going to be using open source, you better darn well give attribution. Because if you don't, people in the blockchain community are going to continue. They'll be like me. You're just adding brick upon brick. You're building walls that weren't even there before by using this kind of language. And then scaling with demand, the BitTube network will leverage data. Slate will leverage.
That sounds like BitTorrent to me. Leverage data from active peers to help reinforce the stream. That's BitTorrent.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Seeding.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's BitTorrent.
Stream quality, multiple technologies to optimize video quality.
Dash. That's not the same as the currency. That's actually a standard.
Right. Okay.
Or Dash. Yeah, that's a adaptive streaming technology.
Right, but that's built into the HTML5 spec for video, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so this is not new either.
I believe so.
Yeah. So you can designate. No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually. It's not actually built into it. You still have
I think
to
it's part of the actual video metadata.
Yeah.
Not the HTML part. Yeah.
Right. So smart contracts and tokens, not just a media storage and streaming delivery system. Oh, please tell me what more it does. Comprehensive solution that will include automated contracts that regulate access and fees. Okay, so the settlement layer, like you were saying before, makes sense.
To be honest, using something like MPEG Dash and BitTorrent or something like WebTorrent might actually be a little tricky and might be a little innovative. There might be another layer necessary there. I can't remember how Dash, I'm actually, to be honest, I can't remember it because I've never learned it, how Dash falls back to the lower stream. So you might have to write a custom server to essentially have Dash support, even if it was sort of like BitTorrent-like, essentially a Dash-aware BitTorrent server that had it might be as simple as it has multiple files for each encoding layer, and it just falls back to each one. So it could be just that the player has to know, oh, I can't keep up with this bigger stream.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall back to the lower bandwidth stream, and in which case it would be pretty easy to overlay BitTorrent in there because in essence it's still got a unique file handle that it can grab for each stream.
Right.
In essence.
Right. To your point, I mean, it sounds like WebTorrent also, if you can create like whatever the failover file is for bandwidth availability, or so that makes sense. It makes sense. Maybe they are innovating something there.
The simpler model I described it still work for that because it would still be in the custom player that would have that logic.
Yeah.
Right? It's just one piece of software.
Right. And I want to say that
pretty much does everything. And then you could even make it the installer run it 24/7 live. So that you just tell people if you want all your favorite videos that you're subscribed to be cached, leave your machine on and they'll be there when you get home.
Yeah, dude, totally. So
it's no different from say like Dropbox or Google Drive or something in a way. Just synchronizes the background. Well, except for that it's peer-to-peer rather than centralized.
Yeah. It says companies usually be able to effectively create custom tokens to distribute and verify ownership in the ticketing industry. Okay, so again, this troubles me because it's like, well, couldn't AMC, couldn't Regal, couldn't every other exhibition venue, couldn't they already create their own like custom ERC token, ERC20 token or whatever?
They wanted to. Yeah,
but
even create their own blockchain.
Yeah,
but they don't need to because they already have their own electronic ticketing systems anyway.
Exactly, it's a problem that doesn't require blockchain. So why would anybody say like, okay, we know that Ethereum is kind of the de facto standard for creating our own tokens, but no, please tell us, Slate, you give us permission now to make custom tokens on your platform? Awesome. I don't get it. Like the customer, every time that somebody's put into the role of customer, I'm not seeing the value prop. So right now,
I'm trying to be the good cop here, and I'm running out of positive things to say.
Sorry about that. And I'm being like ultra bad cop. I'm like Gestapo over here. But like, okay, rewards target, and the breakdown. There you go. Master nodes. This makes sense at least. So if 85%,
at least because they were doing all the work.
Yeah,
really, based on what the architectural diagram there.
So, okay, guys, kudos, Slate. I agree with one part of your white paper. It just took us 31 pages to get there.
The service, let's call them service nodes, because really, if they are doing a lot of the seeding and CDN work, they're really, master nodes.
Yeah, that falls short.
They're not. Yeah,
because the proof of service here requires proof of storage, proof of bandwidth, proof of uptime. So, I mean, they're practically only going to be contracting with tier 1 data centers. There's almost...
Well, that's what I was saying. It sounds like to me like this is beyond hobby level. You're either going to have a really kick-ass network connection, or you're going to be running service nodes professionally. Right.
So yeah, or you're going to be somebody that cashes in and says like, all right, sweet, I better I better go provision a ton of machines on AWS. That's just going to happen. That just is.
If it's strongly enough incentivized, I mean, and that's why it's good to see that they're willing to reward the master-node operators.
Yeah. So all these things, I mean, these seem like a basic requirement for any kind of cloud service, though. Challenges: security, push or pull data, efficient caching, statistical modeling of demand, what nodes will store what content, topology of which nodes should cover which demand, minimizing cost to node operators. Okay.
You know that I don't know if you know this, but Netflix they're huge BSD contributors, and they have their own custom. It's not like it's proprietary or anything, so I'm not like sharing any kind of proprietary information. They do workshop, or they've done presentations on it, but they built a CDN box, which is a BSD based like super cache node that they stick in ISPs, and they basically put closer to the edge, right? So they put them in an ISP's data center, so that the ISP has that cache like right at that leaf node of the network. So they don't have to go over their backhaul to get this stuff. They just synchronize like one copy to this proprietary. Is it Hulu or Net? I'm pretty sure it's Netflix. You can look it up. It's BSD based.
Nice.
So they're pretty big contributors to BSD.
Nice.
For network stack and different details of the kernel that make their cache boxes work better.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So it sounds like with what you're saying there, it makes me wonder if this particular product, like the whatever the cache box is, that if it's Netflix that's come up with it, this BSD cache box that they've innovated, like to what extent will Slate be able to demand that level of quality, right? Proof of uptime and everything else.
It conceivably, it'll be terrible to say this, but if you're just thinking about actual physical network topology, it could conceivably make the network, it could conceivably make it less efficient. Let's say that this is the destination, right? The master distributor of the files, right? And this is the ISP. This is participant A. And this is participant B. They look smaller for some reason. This is the ISP. And then let's say that they don't necessarily share the same ISP. So this is ISP A. This is ISP. I mean, the internet is basically a bunch of...
the cloud is a bunch of other people's computers.
Yeah, and it's also usually like a star topology. I'm going to simplify this. Let's say that there is one switch here in between, and this is not physically how it would be. There's going to be way more hops than this typically. But so let's say the Netflix model, they have their cache box. How do I change my pen color? They have their cache box. I'm going to make it red because their color is red for their logos. They have their cache box in ISP A because it's a big ISP, and they have their cache box in ISP B, which ISP B actually serves customer B, and ISP A serves customer A.
Right. That makes sense.
Let's say that this is Netflix, their master sort of distribution company. They want to, and then let's say that the both of these ISPs, their only cross connect is via this hub, whatever this hub is, this physical hub. So this is where they peer and get their cross connect, right? So Netflix wants to distribute a piece of content. Netflix is actually peering to this same hub, and so they send that piece of content over the wire, and it goes beep 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 beep, and gets distributed to both of these, and then it gets permanently cached in their CDN system, their custom CDN system, right?
Yeah.
So now both of these participant A and participant B are both Netflix customers, and they want to watch a video. So they go, I want to watch a video, right? Let's make my thing fatter just to make it be like, how do I just
higher bandwidth content going through those lines?
Yeah, just trying to visualize that better. So they get the video, and that's how they get the video. And you'll see it never goes over the backhaul here ever. It doesn't touch it. It stops there at the peering box. And there would be signals that go over this because there'll be a lot of mojo for discovery of this cache box that would redirect the stream to them.
Yeah.
But we'll just leave that out because it's nominal amounts of bandwidth for that metadata discovery, really. Okay, so now we talk about our system that is trying to do a peer-to-peer system, right? And I described this earlier using BitTorrent, and this is actually, to be honest, is part of the reason why ISPs don't like BitTorrent, is mostly because it is it's really disruptive to their network.
Oh, right. It floods the bandwidth.
Yeah, it totally floods
the pipe.
Because if you think about it, it's got to maintain. I didn't put participant B or C. Let's put participant C in here too, because let's say that that we are talking about more of a torrent type of situation where we have use a different color green. A little anal retentive here. It has to be the same green.
Yeah, I was going to say participant C is different. Be like participant C.
Yeah. So you have participant C. And in this particular case, remember these guys aren't peered anywhere else, right? And let's say participant C just uses the same ISP anyway. If you have a BitTorrent sort of situation and participant B and C both are serving something, they both create connections that concentrate here, concentrate in this hub here, and then get back here. So let's say that they're both seeding files that participant A wants to get. All that traffic, this switch here has to basically have state for two different connections from these two guys. Whereas before, to do this distribution from this, it didn't even ever need to see that, right? So that's one of the reasons why ISPs don't really like BitTorrent. It floods their network with tons of connections. That's the main thing, is because even though technically IP is stateless, it's not really. Modern routers actually do maintain a little bit of knowledge about state in order to find optimal routes. So there's going to be a certain amount of caching that occurs in terms of state or a certain amount of connections, live connections that do get cached in those nodes, and not to mention the bandwidth, which actually does have to flow through that switch or router, whatever it is. ISPs don't really care for it that way for that reason.
Right.
So anyway, now let's look at the model instead of using little CDN cache node here. That if we were going to do from this other company that does more of a peer-to-peer model of bandwidth stuff. Let's say that participant, that a couple of these participants run seed nodes for this network, right? And again, you're going to have to use a little bit of imagination to imagine how this is going to magnify if there's thousands of participants, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the metadata would maybe come from this guy here, but the actual heavy data, and actually, if it was a true peer-to-peer system, the metadata wouldn't come from them. They would just use that to sort of place stuff onto the network. So they would, similar to the other one, they would push out data that would get to the network and would get cached in these nodes here. So they would cache that there, and it would only have to go out once. But you see already, in this particular case, it hasn't been much worse because there's only 2 that it cached to, but imagine there might be hundreds that it would cache to, or tens or hundreds, or however much redundancy they wanted. So they'd already be sending out more data from the main master seed node. It could also propagate peer-to-peer though, so they might not necessarily have to do that, but all that traffic would still flow back over all the infrastructure and concentrate on those nodes in that star topology as it went peer-to-peer. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So now once let's say participant B wanted to watch that thing, because all these are participants in this new peer-to-peer video system, it has to go get things from these master nodes that these people are running. Well, you'll see that it's going to get it, and so now it's going to get some pieces from here, from this one, and I'm just spacing them out more because it's getting some from that one. They're not as frequent. It's going to get some from this one. Well, notice in this case, this ISP, it's sort of peered with itself. It's able to find a route back to there, but this one has to route all the way back here.
Yeah,
in order to get there, to get to this participant. Because don't forget, they are bringing some of the pieces from them as well, right? They're not when you're doing net BitTorrent type seeding, you're getting sub pieces from each person that has a seed.
Right.
So now you have all this, and now imagine again multiplying this beyond this. There was a whole bunch of others. Let's say you had our participant 0 up here. I ran out of letters. I'll call them 0. Participant 0 is another one that's running a node. And they have yet another, another switch, right? That these two aren't even peered with either of that. There's a route that they have to find to get to there, right? But it's still, let's say, concentrating through this peering point. Now they're sending that traffic over the network here as well, right? And it's concentrating there to get here and then to get here. Now you can see why this ISP doesn't really care for this peer-to-peer scheme, right? Because they're becoming this hotspot in the network from all these peers sending stuff to this person. And it's not about the bandwidth per se, but it's about the state and the individual packets too, because there are buffers for individual packets.
Yeah.
So any small amount of stateful information they have to track, but then also about the sort of buffering of those packets,
right?
That get concentrated to there. So I mean, I like peer-to-peer systems. They're more fault-tolerant, and they do work more like the way the internet is sort of meant to work, but they also take away a lot of the tricks that switches and routers have for sort of making the network a little bit more efficient, and also takes away the ability for this ISP, because the ISP has to pay for this backhaul. There's something to totally keep in mind, that this backhaul, this bandwidth costs them money.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
this
let's
bandwidth is free for them, kind of. So you're paying for that.
This is going to be some of the problems that I think that these guys are going to have to deal with, and if they're not already, working with the people who are dealing with this problem in the space, like IPFS, et cetera, then I don't know what they have in mind. It'd be great if they just talked about it in the white paper. I get to use air quotes now because I don't feel like this is a white paper. It's still just a pitch deck. They're talking about compensation. They're talking about reward models for consensus, and for service, but they're not really talking about problem solving. So consumer seeds. Ooh. Okay, user that chooses to stream content as well as consume it. So local client seed will be more beneficial in the network, but ultimately both implementations of the consumer seed will act as booster nodes for the network, and pending optimized incentives should scale in correlation with demand. And trust nodes, application layer, local clients.
Well, there's your answers for all your technical stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they're at least proposing solutions to it. And I mean, you could think of them, I would think of it in this kind of topology or this kind of arrangement, that the master nodes or the service nodes would essentially be like super seeds. They would essentially, their job would be to keep seeds alive so that you didn't have like seed death. And then you could have peer-to-peer distribution between hosts or between customers as necessary. I mean, that's how I would do it. But it still doesn't remove that problem, and you could say potential problem of essentially distributing all that peer-to-peer type of traffic over the network. Like I said, ISPs don't really care for BitTorrent for that reason. In practice, I don't know if it's not like the internet has crumbled because there's a ton of peer-to-peer traffic flowing all over the place.
Right.
It hasn't collapsed yet anyway, even though sometimes You know, it's not the internet's not a series of tubes. You can't just take a dump truck and dump it in there, right? Like,
right.
It is a series of tubes, right? But you can't just take a dump truck and dump. Who's the guy who's famous for saying that? That's one of those classic internet quotes. Yeah. Anyway, look up internet tubes dump trucks. You'll find it.
Right. I'll take a look at
classic.
it. So, all right, they're talking about some risks there. I think we probably need to call the end of the show pretty soon here, but Slate.io, I think it's interesting.
Long one.
I would love to have them on the show if they have anybody on the team who is remotely technical and can talk about some of the proposed solutions to some of the problems, maybe some of the technologies they're going to use. Some of it is mentioned there, like you said. They use Dash twice, one for the actual blockchain and the other for the web technology. So I'd love to talk to somebody who actually is able to speak to this a little bit more in depth and have them on the show and have them basically at this point, in my mind, have them defend a little bit of their decision making and talk a little bit about like what the value is. Cause so far I'm struggling to see what the value to most consumers of content, and then consumers of their enterprise oriented offerings as well, like ticketing and other token creation on their platform. I don't understand why anybody would go that route as opposed to just sticking with what has already worked. I don't think that ticket bot sales is where, I mean, if they're being paid for, I don't think that that's where the biggest problem in exhibition lies. I could be wrong. They may know something that I don't about that, but I'm wondering like which problems does this solve for exhibitors and for content creators and owners. But anyway, maybe for day and date, you could build a system around. See, there you go. There's some ideas. I didn't spot it in there anywhere, but like that might be interesting because then you have a unifying ecosystem for day and date release on both streaming and theatrical. Yes. Okay. I might have just given them free information, free ideas. You should pay me as a consultant for ideas that good. Anyway, sorry. Right. Well, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us ramble for I think like 2 hours, but this one I think I think it merited a deep dive. These are people who are literally talking about becoming the future of entertainment, married with blockchain and immutable ledger technology. So I want to know, like I want to feel fully sold that these guys know what they're doing and that they're providing real value, up, down, and laterally, right? Like I don't want to see them just become a blockchain replacement for the current centralized powers in Hollywood. It'd be great to see them actually offer something of value to Hollywood and then choose something of merit from blockchain to bring into Hollywood. And given our backgrounds in entertainment too, it's sort of like it's a little probably near to us, which is why I probably dwelled on it so much compared to a lot of other stuff. Probably, yeah. Anyway, Again, I think BitTube has got a really great approach. But on the flip side, like, does Saber have the connections and does he have the team to try to command the kind of ask that these guys have? Because their team, one thing that I will absolutely give them is that everyone here is very clearly a player. So when they talk about like solving problems with throwing a lot of money at it, I don't doubt their ability to execute the pitch and the sale. It's all the other stuff where it's like it's not too early to talk about the technology. So talk about it openly and talk about how you're going to solve the problems. That's, I guess, my main criticism boiled down is that stop trying to sell me so much sizzle, because that doesn't do quite as well in blockchain. You have to have some substance too. Just my take on it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for letting us talk at you. One of our crazy, this one was a total super rabbit hole episode of just dragging. Totally. So I'm going to play the close music, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.